What's going on, guys? Well, I wanted to do a story time video. I'm taking a little break because I'm working on the truck. You can see I have all the gauges off and the instrument panel. A lot of the bulbs were burnt out, so I had to replace all those. Well, I'm about to replace all those. Plus this thing, the needle broke. I think this is the gear, I don't know what you'd call that, the gear indicator needle. I don't know, when you're switching gears. It should be backlit, but it's not because the bulb was burnt out. And then obviously when, I'll show you what gear you're in. You can use some common sense knowing where things are, but I still like to replace that needle. I might have to buy the whole piece, but anyway, that's all. So let me take a quick break and tell a story about when I bought this truck. Alright, guys. Sorry about the undershirt. I'm sweating balls out here. Here's what happened. I've been working on the truck. I filmed that first little segment there, and then I came inside to get a drink and cool off, and I find that their power's out. What the hell? So I checked the breakers. Breakers aren't working. There's just no power to the house. So the house is hot. I ended up taking a little drive to see what's going on. I found out that they had a portion of road closed off because someone veered off the road and hit a telephone pole and started the pole, and wires went off into the woods, started a big fire. So I got no friggin' power. So it's a great time to sit and make a video since there's literally nothing else I can do but wait around until we get power. So yeah, I was working on the truck. When I got back and found out we didn't have power, I ended up putting the truck back together. So I will give you an update when the video's done. I'll show you how it came out. But anyway, this is a story time on how I got the truck, because I just have the worst luck sometimes. I really do. I don't know what it is. Something that gets passed down in my genes. My father had bad luck. My grandfather had bad luck on stuff, and just we laugh about it because what do? You either gotta laugh or cry, right? So you laugh, you shake it off, and you deal with it. It's life. So basically, for probably a year and a half, 2 years, I've been thinking about getting a four-wheel drive vehicle because winters up here suck. Where I live, northeastern Pennsylvania, the winters, it's mandatory. You need something to get around. Now, before I met my wife, I could hunker down a little bit. The situation was a little bit different in my life where I didn't have to drive as much, I had a year where I was just driving the Monte Carlo. I have an 87 Monte Carlo LS and rear-wheel drive. And that thing is not good in the snow. In fact, I have a video doing donuts in the snow. When I had to get somewhere, like to work at the time, it was close, so I didn't have to worry about it too much. But now the situation is very different. Last year, I did a lot of driving around in the winter. In the pit of winter during storms and ice and slush and just really crappy conditions in my Chrysler. And the Chrysler, even though it's front-wheel drive, it just doesn't have much traction. And I've got, good tires on it. They were new tires when I first started driving around in the wintertime. And, I thought about different options. Of course, I could get studded winter tires specifically for that. But then you have days where everything melts. It's like 3 feet of snow, and then, later in the week, there's nothing on the road. I can't be driving around with studded tires, nothing on the road. So I have that situation. So I ended up getting chains, all right? And I did a quick video on that last winter. The chains for the vehicle saved us. It got us around. When I really needed to get through some of the crap, the chains were amazing. They were awesome. By the time the season was over, the chains are completely rusted out and actually broke the part where they're connected. They just rusted completely out and they're garbage. So they pretty much last one season. They're about $50 to get a set of chains, some cable chains basically. So anyway, I knew when the winter was over, I said to myself, and I told my wife too, I'm like, there's no way we're doing that again. Like, we'll get chains just to have them, but I don't want to drive around like that again. I don't want to worry and wonder if I'm going to slide off the road or I'm not going to be able to get up a hill or not be able to get home. I'm like, we got to get something four-wheel drive. And I was on the fence for a long time about getting a Jeep. My father has a Jeep. My grandfather had a Jeep Wrangler, Safari Edition, loved it, had it for I don't know how many years. And then when he passed away, my dad got it, absolutely loved the Jeep. Very sentimental to him, but it got you through anything. That Wrangler went through anything. But unfortunately, being in Pennsylvania, all those many years in the winter, the frame just rusted out. The battery died. Of course, why not, right? Since I can't charge it, no power to the house. Luckily, I have a spare battery, and I'm hoping there's enough juice to finish this video. So I left off talking about my grandfather's Jeep. Yeah, that Jeep was a trooper, but it had a couple decades in the Pennsylvania winters, and it was just shot. The body was pretty rusted out, and even though my dad had a very emotional attachment to it, he's a logical person. He understood that it's eventually going to need more work than he can afford. So he found a kid on Craigslist who's into projects and doing, mudding and stuff like that. And he had a usable Cherokee that he barely touched, didn't do too much to. And he did a straight up trade with my dad for the Wrangler. Knowing there's rust problems and stuff, I guess that the value was equal. The rusted out Wrangler was the same as the working Cherokee. So, yeah, my dad loves that. And he loves his Jeep. He had a bunch of Jeeps. He had 2 different Liberties with my mom. They did a lot of traveling. They commuted 2.5 hours every single day each way to Jersey, for like 10 years in Jeeps. They love them. They swear by them. And, I can contest that too. They're good vehicles for the most part, as long as you maintain them like anything else. But anyway, so Jeeps were an option. I was strongly considering a Jeep. And, ultimately, I ended up going with a pickup truck because I saw more versatility in that. I know if I got a Jeep, I'm sure I'd be happy. I mean, obviously every vehicle has their issues. So I know Jeeps have their issues too. They're not perfect. Certain things just happen to lots of Jeeps. But with the pickup, I thought, well, at least, in a pinch, I have that bed. I can use that, for cargo. I'm not supposed to. Right now I have it under classic insurance, so it's a restoration project for me. And it's something to drive only when I really, really need it. That's the purpose of it. It's an emergency vehicle to get through the snow if I really need to. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just wanted a pickup truck. I like them. I like them more than Jeeps. So I looked online. I spent probably a month researching trucks in my area, and buying a truck in Pennsylvania, it kind of goes one of 3 ways. This is what I found out very, very quickly. Truck number 1 is very expensive. It's barely used. There's no rust on it, and it works great, but it's way out of my price range. Truck number 2 is mechanically okay, but rusted to crap. It's usually used as a plow truck every winter, and it's just beat up. There's no body left. It's just the guts. But that's in my price range. Now, truck number 3 is usually in my price range, but kids jack them up. They put a huge lift on it, big boggers, and once you start doing that kind of stuff and going off-road and mudding, you come into a whole different slew of possible problems with that truck, right? So I have to kind of pick between the two. The truck that's in great running condition and looks great and everything, it's just too expensive for me. So I have to stay within my budget and basically buy a beater. Now, when I saw this truck, I fell in love with it. I knew I wanted to get an older truck. Number 1, just ease of working on it. Number 2, again, price range was a consideration. I couldn't go out and get a 2009, 2010 something. It's just too expensive for me, especially with the lower mileage and stuff. But I saw this. It was in my price range. I loved it. There wasn't a whole lot of information on it. It was on Craigslist. Now I hate Craigslist. I don't really have a good reason to not like it. It's just, I don't know. It's like eBay, but without any kind of protection. Not that eBay is all that protected anyway. It's just, you work with one human being to another human being, and something doesn't work out, and oh well, you know what I mean? I never liked that. I always liked a little bit of peace of mind, some insurance, But I happened to find it on Craigslist. I loved the way it sounded. The ad was very short. There wasn't a whole lot of information. Just said that it ran well, and the specs on what it was. So I contacted a guy, and the guy seemed really, really nice. I talked to him on the phone, military man. So big respect there, being in the service. And he basically gave me the story that he got this truck. He was working on his house. He was rebuilding something, and he used it as a work truck, just back and forth. Used the truck bed to bring garbage away and to bring new materials to the house to work on his addition to his home. Love the truck, but hey, he's going away in the service again, going off to wherever. Not going to be driving it. He can use the money. Want to give the money to his wife. His wife's pregnant. Here he has 2 kids. I think the mother-in-law lives with them or something like that. So definitely could have used the money and wanted to sell the truck. I'm like, all right, cool. Seemed like a nice guy. And I talked to my wife about it, and the price was right. And we said, all right, cool, we'll take it. Now here's the thing. He lived about 3 hours away. So I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get the truck, I could drive up there, but in the situation I'm in, I don't have another driver that could have drove back. And then I asked him, like, well, hey, look, if I give you, an extra $100, would you drive it to me? It'll cover your gas and, maybe a cut. Well, it would probably just cover the gas, to be honest, in that truck. But I asked him, like, if you really want the sale, I'll give you your asking price. I'm not going to haggle with you. I'm not going to lowball you. I will give you exactly what you're asking plus $100 if you can deliver it to me. Now, this would serve two purposes. Number one, I would know that the truck was roadworthy. If it can drive 3 hours to come here, I know that it's in decent running condition. Okay, I'm back again. I had to pause the video for UPS. All right, so so I found the truck, talked to the guy, everything sounded great. All right, now I worked it out with him where he was going to deliver it. I was going to give him his asking price plus $100 for the inconvenience of having to drive it down. It would cover the gas. So we have everything set up. It's going to come a certain day. I'll meet him at the licensing office. We'll transfer the title over to me and all that kind of stuff. Get all the paperwork done. And then I get the call. And the call is, well, I don't think I can make it down. And now I'm thinking, well, why? Is the truck not going to make it? Like, what's the excuse here? And he's, I don't have anyone to drive with me, to drive me back. So I'm like, all right, I understand, whatever. Sorry we couldn't work something out. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the truck's not going to function. He's trying to get out of driving it down because it's not working right. So I kind of just thought, that sucks. I really wanted that truck. And then I talked to him the same day, later in that day, called me back and said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my mother-in-law to come down with me, but I have to also bring my daughter. He has a little girl. So I'm like, okay, it's a big family trip. His wife's pregnant. Wife didn't want to come down. I totally understand that. Didn't want to drive 6 hours, there and back with being pregnant and stuff and being real hot. That couple of days that I was working out the truck sale, it was really hot around here. So I understood that. It's not a big deal. So basically, I'm real excited. It's the day that I'm getting the truck. I'm supposed to meet him at like 11 o'clock. We get there, I'm waiting around for like a half an hour. I get a call, okay, I'm almost there. Then I get called back about 5 minutes later, go, I hate to say this, but I broke down. Really, you broke down? So he tells me he's like 5 minutes down the road. He almost made it all the way here, but it broke down. And he's telling me that the battery has no juice. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's the alternator, maybe just the battery. The truck's been sitting a little while, maybe the battery's just dead. Don't know what the deal is, except for the fact that he's broken down, and his mother-in-law, who was following him, got lost. So he's waiting for the mother-in-law to get to him. Huge mess. And at this point, I'm outside, and I'm with my wife, and I'm talking, and she can see my face just go from, like, excited to what the hell, man. I was so frustrated. I almost threw my phone on the ground. I never do that. I don't throw my phone, but I was like, oh, why? Why is this happening to me? So anyway, he tells me he's going to call me back when the mother-in-law finds him, because they're in an area they don't, normally travel, so they have to find directions and everything. Finally, the mother-in-law finds him, picks him up. They have to leave the truck on the side of the road. They drive to the licensing place. I meet up with him, and we regroup. I say, dude, what's the deal with this truck? He tells me, everything was running great. I don't know what the problem was. It did sit for a while. It sat for a couple months, so, maybe just the battery's dead or whatever. So we finally come up with a plan that we will go to the truck. I will go physically inspect the truck, see what the deal is, see what it is, because at this point I haven't seen it in person yet, and see what's wrong with it. So I left my wife there at the licensing office, hopped in his mother, this is some strange woman, his mother-in-law's car. So I'm with this stranger and his mother-in-law and his daughter in the back seat, and we're driving over to the truck. So you get to the truck, I see it, it's on the side of the road, very sad, just like in the middle of the woods somewhere, just off the side of the road, and but I like it. It's badass, it's cool, I like the truck. But I'm thinking, man, this thing's broken down. Why should I buy this thing? It's broken. I don't even know what's wrong with it, What kind of can of worms am I opening up here in buying this thing dead on the side of the road? But, what the hell, right? So we get out, we look at the truck, I'm looking over, he's telling me, that the latch on the back and the tailgate's broken, like little things here and there. The one thing that was a big surprise to me was the windshield was cracked. And, he didn't mention it. That was kind of like, what the hell, dude? You didn't tell me the windshield was broken. It's a couple $100. It's not, super simple thing to do. I can't do it myself. I have to pay someone, obviously, to replace the windshield. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I mentioned it. Yeah, slipped your mind. Oh, well. Little things here and there. The dash is cracked, and But the problem is that I can't even hear it turn on, and he keeps telling me the whole time. He's like, "Dude, I wish I could just start up and you can hear it run. It's so smooth and the engine's great." And he told me all about it and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, but you can't. It's dead on the side of the road." And he is genuinely sympathetic. Now, this is a complete stranger, but he really is genuinely sympathetic to the situation. I can tell that he's very, very embarrassed, sorry for, wasting my time. He didn't think I was going to buy the truck. He thought I was just going to be like, screw it, see you later, good luck. I ended up calling AAA. I worked it out with him so that, because he looked me in the face, like, look, everything on this truck's working fine, and the only thing it's going to need is either a battery or an alternator. And I said, well, what if I need both? What if I have to get a battery and an alternator, And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, how about we knock like $300 off the price? And you can get that stuff, a brand new battery and an alternator. I'm like, 300, it depends on where, because at the time I didn't know where I was going to go get it fixed. I'm like, all right, I'll tell you what, how about 400? $400 off the asking price, plus the $100 off of your inconvenience. That's going away at this point, because now I'm inconvenienced. $400 off the top, and we'll have a deal. I'll buy your broken down truck on the side of the road right here. And he said, all right, deal. And so yeah, I bought a broken down truck on the side of the road. Never even heard it kick over. Never even heard it run. In my mind I'm thinking, is this guy lying? He could have towed it down not working and then left it on the side of the road, and the tow, But then I thought, well, then he'd have to have his mother-in-law and his little daughter in on this scheme. I'm thinking, you know what? I think maybe he just has bad luck like I had bad luck. And I gave another human being the benefit of the doubt, a complete stranger. I trusted in this guy. I bought a broken down truck on the side of the road from a stranger on his word that it would run with a new alternator and possibly a battery. So, yeah, I'm a very entrusting person, but I took his word for it, because I'm a kind person, and I believe that there's other kind people out there and honest people. So anyway, I gave him his money and shook my hand, and what's cool though is he gave me his number. I have his full name and everything, and 2 or 3 days later he actually emailed me and asked how the truck was doing and stuff. And this is a complete stranger on Craigslist, and I completely entrusted that he was telling me the truth, and he was, to the best of his knowledge. That's what was wrong with it, and that's what I got fixed, and the truck was working. The truck's still in rough shape. It needs to be definitely needs a tune-up, probably new spark plugs, new wires. Definitely have to clean the carburetor out. It's been sitting. Our gas today sucks. You could probably get a car that sat from 1980, and it'll probably kick right over because the gas is still good. You buy gas today, next week it won't be good anymore. That's how horrible the quality of our gasoline is these days. But anyway, because it's sat for a while, I think the carburetor needs some work. It's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit rough, but it's running. It's a running truck. So yeah, I entrusted in this stranger, and it worked out. But what was really cool to me was that, like I said, a couple days later, he emailed me asking about the truck. He didn't just like lay on me a piece of crap and see you later, I don't want to hear about it. He was truly interested in making sure that I was happy with the deal. The entire time we were talking and stuff, he's like, dude, if you don't want, I totally understand. Don't feel embarrassed. It's not your fault. It's my problem. I'll find a way to get home. The whole thing. He wasn't trying to lay it on me. He wasn't trying to get out of a bad situation. He took full responsibility, and that again kind of told me that he was more of a trusting person. But in the end, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. It still needs work before winter hits. It is something that I'm not using every day. It is an antique. I got antique plates for it. So it's my restoration project, and it's hopefully going to get me around in some of the rougher days during the winter. But that's pretty much it. That's the story on my truck. It's funny because when I told my father the story, my father's a very practical guy. And my father's not a very trusting human being. He's been screwed his fair share in life, and he's learned better. And when I told him, I'm like, because of course I was giving him updates this whole time. He's very excited that I was going to get a truck and everything. And he's like, oh, how is it and everything? I'm like, well, it broke down the side of the road. He's like, oh, you didn't buy it, did you? Like, kind of joking, but being serious. And I'm like, no, I bought it. He's like, broken down on the side of the road? He's like, oh, Jeff, man, you don't know what you got yourself into. And it's just funny because my father trusts me, but he's a dad, and he always will be a dad, and he always, you know, he'll always know better than me in his mind because he's a father, and you know, I took a big chance he never would. He's smarter than I am and less trusting of strangers. So it's kind of funny having a conversation with him. He's like, well, congratulations, and I hope it's not a piece of crap. I hope it actually kicks over eventually for you. But, you know, still a loving father, still gave me the support I needed to get through the day. Because at the end of the day, I'm thinking, what the hell did I just do? Did I just buy a broken truck? I don't even know if this thing works. I don't know if the four-wheel drive works. I never even heard it turn on. Good Lord. But again, I entrusted another human being, a complete stranger, and it worked out okay. Like I said, I'm happy with it. It's not a perfect truck. He didn't indulge all the issues with the truck. Whether he knew about them or didn't know about them, who knows. But honestly, who cares? Now it's my vehicle, and any problems that arise from it are my problems. And I'll deal with those problems. It's fine. But yeah, I thought that was a funny story, though, to tell you guys, because, you know, be honest. Write down in the comments, in my situation, would you have bought that truck? Most of you probably wouldn't. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the logical thing to do. Sometimes I take chances. It's not always a good thing. But like I said, it worked out okay. So it's running, just needs some work. Anyway, let's go take a peek at the instrument panel. I'll show you what I did. All right, so you guys saw the before. Basically, I painted this whole face, and I tried to just stick with you know, something that looked like what originally was, some kind of metallic gray. And I'm pretty happy how it came out. I did not find a replacement needle for this yet. I will have to take this apart in the future and replace that again. I replaced all the bulbs in the back, and it's working fine. You can't really see it because it's during the day. The only thing I did forget, though, which is kind of annoying, but right in the speedometer, there's two circles here that shine light. There's a bulb behind here, and there's a piece of blue film. And basically, when I have the high beams on, those light up blue to let me know I have my high beams on, and I forgot to put that filter back in. And I really don't feel like taking this apart again. So right now, if I have my high beams on, it'll be white instead of blue. But really not a big deal. Save the piece, I'll put it in next time I take it apart. But I'm happy. It's definitely cleaner looking, you know. But, you know, tip of the iceberg, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in this truck. And I'm more than happy to put the time and effort into it. And this is a learning process to me. I am very much far from being a mechanic. And it was a little, you know, a little scary just ripping this thing apart, not knowing what I'm doing. But I took pictures, I used some common sense and some logic. I labeled bags of screws where they went, and I was able to get it done. So I'm very proud of myself for that. You know, I don't know how much I would have had to pay someone to do what I just did. And it took me all of, like, you know, maybe an hour and a half. And that's only because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm learning. So that's pretty much it. That's the update on the truck. And now, I just gotta, Gus, don't be peeing on camera. Have you no shame? Me and Gus gonna hang out here since we don't have any damn power, right, Gus? Gus is pissed off. He's like, I want the fan back on, right? Yeah, we're gonna go have to find some shade and hang out in there, right, Gus? All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.